What if I told you that the incessant hum of anxiety, the gnawing feeling of insecurity, and the suffocating weight of stress could all be silenced? What if the relentless cycle of overthinking, the constant worry about things beyond your control, and the feeling of being pulled in every direction by your turbulent emotions could cease entirely? What if, by understanding the profound principles of Stoicism, you could not only navigate life with greater ease, but truly command it with unwavering confidence? This isn't merely a philosophical exercise. It's a battle-tested framework for thinking, a method that has been honed and proven by warriors, emperors, and some of history's most brilliant minds. These individuals, facing challenges that would crush lesser spirits, maintained their composure, confidence, and absolute control, regardless of the storms life threw their way. Are you feeling trapped by your emotions, like a puppet on a string? This understanding will set you free. Are you tired of caring too much about the fleeting opinions of others? That chapter of your life ends today. Do you struggle with fear, doubt, or crippling uncertainty? You'll learn how to dismantle them piece by piece. This isn't just another self-help sermon telling you to think positive. This is about rewiring the very architecture of your mind, forging a resilience so profound that you become unshakable. By the end of this journey, you will perceive the world through a radically different lens. You will move through life with greater intelligence, strength, and an imperviousness to the things that once tore you apart. Because once you adopt the Stoic mindset, nothing can break you. But before we dive deeper, I want to ask you to take a moment. If you're finding value in this, please consider liking, subscribing, commenting, and sharing this content. Your support helps us reach more people and continue creating valuable content. Once you truly internalize the essence of Stoicism, a fundamental shift occurs within you. The things that once held sway over your emotions, that once shook you to your core, lose their power. Stress, like a relentless tormentor, loses its grip. The shifting opinions of others, once the measure of your worth, cease to define you. Uncertainty, that once filled you with paralyzing fear, no longer holds you captive. Life begins to feel fundamentally different, not because the world has changed, but because you have undergone a profound transformation. This is the consequence of internalizing Stoicism. It's not merely about memorizing a few quotes or attempting to remain calm when adversity strikes. It's about deeply rewiring your mind so that stability becomes your default state, your unwavering foundation, regardless of the circumstances. Betrayal, failure, rejection, financial loss, chaos, these events may occur, but a part of you remains untouched, unshaken, a bastion of inner peace. This is not an innate quality, something you are born with. It's a skill, a discipline, a practice, like building muscle. Stability is cultivated through repeated discipline, mental conditioning, and learning to perceive the world through a different lens. It involves replacing old reactive patterns with new deliberate responses, shifting from emotional chaos to controlled clarity. This is not about suppressing emotions or pretending to be unaffected. It's about constructing such a robust internal foundation that nothing external can shake what resides within you. This is the core of Stoicism, the ability to navigate life with an unshakable mind, regardless of the storms that may rage around you. An unshakable mind is not one that avoids hardship, but one that understands it, accepts it, and transforms it. When most people encounter problems, they perceive themselves as victims of their circumstances. They react emotionally, allowing fear, anger, or sadness to dominate their thoughts and actions. They spiral into a vortex of self-pity, questioning, "Why is this happening to me?" or lamenting, "This isn't fair." They believe that peace is contingent upon the perfection of the external world, upon people treating them well, upon life unfolding according to their meticulously crafted plans, upon achieving their desired success. But here's the unvarnished truth. Lasting stability will never originate from external conditions. Everything outside of you, money, relationships, reputation, status, comfort, can be lost in an instant. If your peace depends on these ephemeral things, you are perpetually at risk. One unexpected event, one ill-advised decision, one shift in circumstances, and your sense of stability vanishes. This is why so many people experience anxiety, uncertainty, and fragility. They are rooted in things they cannot control, and they live in constant fear of losing them. A stoic mind operates in stark contrast. It cultivates stability from within. Instead of anchoring emotional security in external things, it anchors itself in perspective, self-control, and an unwavering acceptance of reality. It understands that suffering does not arise from events themselves, but from the way we interpret them. If you can train yourself to control those interpretations, nothing can control you. If you can shift your mind to perceive challenges as neutral events rather than personal attacks, you become immune to their power. This is the essence of an unshakable mindset. You are not in control of life, but you are always in control of your response to it. When you fully internalize this, life ceases to feel so chaotic. You no longer chase happiness in things that inevitably disappear. You stop feeling like a prisoner to the actions of others. You realize that suffering is not something that happens to you. It is something you either allow or refuse to allow, based on how you choose to think. This is why Stoicism teaches that the most powerful person is not the one with the most money, the best reputation, or the most success, but the one who controls their own mind, the one who is so deeply rooted in their sense of self that nothing external can shake them. Think about how rare this is. Most people react to life without thinking. They panic when things go awry. They allow a rude comment to ruin their entire day. They cling to resentment for years, allowing it to fester and poison their well-being. They let fear dictate their decisions, living in a perpetual state of avoidance. They are constantly at the mercy of their emotions, unaware that they possess the power to stop it. A stoic mind operates differently. It does not collapse under pressure because it does not place its strength in fragile things. It trains itself to perceive setbacks as opportunities, discomfort as a teacher, and loss as a natural part of life. It refuses to be thrown off course by things outside its control. This does not mean that hardships do not occur. It means that when they do, you do not fall apart. You do not allow pain to define you. You do not wait for the world to be fair before you decide to be at peace. You understand that the only true power you possess is over your own mind, and you take full responsibility for it. Building an unshakable core begins with one fundamental shift. Stop expecting the world to be different than it is. Most people suffer because they resist reality. They want people to always be kind, success to come easily, and life to be predictable. But the world does not operate in this way. There will always be selfish people, setbacks, unfair situations, and unexpected events. You can either fight against this truth and suffer, or you can accept it and become stronger. The Stoics called this amor fati, a love of fate. Instead of wishing things were different, you train yourself to accept them exactly as they are, not with passive resignation, but with a deep understanding that resisting reality only creates suffering. If someone betrays you, don't ask, "Why did this happen?" Instead, understand that betrayal is part of human nature. If you lose money, don't think, "This is unfair." Instead, remind yourself that financial ups and downs are part of life. If someone insults you, Don't take it personally. Perceive it as a reflection of them, not you. This mindset removes suffering at its root. Instead of wasting energy fighting things outside your control, you focus entirely on mastering your response. Another key to an unshakable mind is emotional discipline. Most people allow emotions to dictate their actions. They become angry and lash out. They feel fear and avoid challenges. They experience sadness and withdraw. Their emotions control them rather than the other way around. A stoic mind does not suppress emotions, but it does master them. It observes feelings without being ruled by them. It acknowledges anger without acting on it. It feels fear without allowing it to halt action. It experiences sadness without becoming lost in it. This level of control is not repression. It is freedom. When you are no longer a slave to emotion, you think clearly, act decisively, and move through life with calm confidence. You are no longer reactive, but deliberate. This requires practice. Begin by pausing before you react. When something upsets you, do not respond immediately. Step back and ask yourself if the emotion is useful. Does anger solve the problem? Does fear help you move forward? Does dwelling on the past change it? If the answer is no, let the feeling pass. A final pillar of an unshakable core is self-reliance. Most people seek stability outside of themselves. They expect others to make them feel valued. They wait for external success before feeling confident. They seek happiness in things they can lose. This makes them fragile. A stoic mind cultivates strength from within. It does not need approval, recognition, or reassurance from others. It does not tie its self-worth to things it cannot control. It cultivates its own foundation, so nothing external can shake it. This means becoming your own source of confidence, validation, and direction. It means defining your own values instead of chasing trends. It means standing firm in what you believe, even when the world disagrees. It means developing the ability to be alone without feeling lonely, to work in silence without needing recognition, and to move forward without waiting for permission. When you no longer rely on external things for inner stability, you become untouchable. No rejection, failure, or setback can break you because your foundation is within you, not outside of you. This is what it means to have an unshakable core. It is not something that happens overnight, but something you build through discipline, perspective, and relentless self-mastery. The more you train yourself to detach from what you can't control, the more indestructible you become. The more you stop reacting emotionally, the clearer your mind becomes. The more you accept reality instead of resisting it, the more peace you gain. This is what Stoicism offers, the ability to move through life with strength, clarity, and absolute stability no matter what happens. True stability comes when you no longer rely on external forces to keep you grounded. It is built from within, independent of circumstances, people, or fleeting achievements. But even with an unshakable core, there is another layer to break through. The invisible chains that keep most people trapped in fear, insecurity, and self-doubt. These chains are not made of metal. They are made of expectations, social conditioning, emotional attachments, and the never-ending chase for things that were never in our control. Most people live their lives reacting to the world rather than shaping their own path. They adjust their behavior based on what others think. They define success by society's standards. They seek happiness in material things, validation from people, and a sense of security in things that can disappear overnight. This is why so many feel lost, anxious, and unfulfilled. They are imprisoned by the belief that freedom comes from acquiring more approval, more status, more possessions. But true freedom is not about adding. It is about removing the unnecessary, cutting the strings that control you, and stepping into a life where nothing outside of you can dictate your peace of mind. Stoicism does not promise the kind of freedom most people chase. It does not tell you that happiness comes from achieving goals, gaining recognition, or reaching financial security. Instead, it teaches the kind of freedom that cannot be taken away, the ability to move through life unaffected by external forces. This is not detachment in the sense of indifference, but a shift in power. It means no longer being a slave to emotions, no longer allowing others to define your worth, and no longer attaching yourself to things that are temporary by nature. The first chain that keeps most people trapped is emotional dependency. Many believe their happiness is in the hands of others. They seek comfort, validation, and self-worth from relationships, thinking that love, friendship, or approval will fill the emptiness inside them. This creates a dangerous imbalance because it places their peace in the hands of something they cannot fully control. People change, relationships evolve, and affection can be given and taken away. If your sense of self is built on another person's presence, attention, or treatment of you, then you are always at risk of losing yourself. Stoicism doesn't reject relationships, but it removes the idea that they should be the foundation of your happiness. A strong connection with others should be something you appreciate, not something you depend on for emotional survival. The moment you stop needing validation from others, you gain the ability to enjoy relationships without fear, without anxiety, and without the desperation that makes people cling, manipulate, or suffer when things do not go their way. This also applies to social expectations. Most people live under the constant weight of trying to be accepted. They dress a certain way, speak carefully, and adjust their actions to fit in. They want to be liked, respected, and admired. They chase approval without realizing they are making themselves prisoners to the opinions of others. When you seek validation from people, you hand them the power to control your emotions. If they praise you, you feel good. If they criticize you, you feel worthless. This is why so many struggle with self-esteem. They have never built their identity outside of what others think of them. Stoicism breaks this cycle by shifting your focus inward. The only approval that matters is your own. If you know you are acting with integrity, if your choices align with your principles, then nothing anyone says or does should shake your confidence. The moment you stop looking outside for validation, you reclaim the power to live life on your own terms. Another false source of freedom people chase is material success. Society teaches that the more you have, the safer you will feel. The right house, the right car, the right bank balance, all of it is presented as the path to a good life. But the truth is, the more you attach your happiness to external things, the more fragile your sense of security becomes. Wealth can be lost, status can fade, and comfort can disappear. If your peace depends on financial success, then you are never truly free, because you will always live in fear of losing what you have. Stoicism does not reject wealth or success, but it removes the illusion that they are necessary for fulfillment. Money is a tool, not a source of inner peace. If you can be content with little, you are immune to the highs and lows of fortune. True wealth is not in what you own, but in what you can live without. The less you need, the freer you become. There is also the illusion that freedom comes from avoiding difficulty. Many live their lives trying to escape discomfort. They avoid challenges, emotional pain, or any situation that pushes them beyond their comfort zone. They think that an easy life means a happy life, but this mindset only leads to weakness, dependency, and a constant need for things to be a certain way. Stoicism teaches that true freedom is found in embracing hardship, not avoiding it. The more you expose yourself to challenges, the less power they have over you. If you only feel at peace when things are easy, then you are at the mercy of circumstances. But if you learn to be calm in struggle, to accept discomfort, and to face problems without resistance, then nothing can take your stability away. You are no longer controlled by fear, because you have already trained yourself to handle whatever comes. Another hidden chain is the obsession with control. People suffer because they try to control things that were never in their hands to begin with. They want others to behave a certain way. They want life to unfold according to their plans. They want certainty, predictability, and guarantees. But reality does not work this way. No matter how much effort you put into trying to manage the world around you, there will always be things beyond your control. The weather, the economy, other people's choices, the passing of time. These things will happen whether you like it or not. The more you resist this truth, the more frustration and suffering you create for yourself. Stoicism removes this burden by teaching that the only thing you truly control is yourself, your thoughts, your actions, and your response to events. When you stop trying to control the uncontrollable, life becomes lighter. You no longer waste energy fighting reality. You no longer live in fear of the unexpected. You move through the world with a calm mind, adjusting to whatever comes with acceptance instead of resistance. Most people do not realize how much of their suffering comes from attachment. They cling to identities, routines, beliefs, and expectations. They hold on to the past. They resist change. They fear losing what they know. But all of these things are temporary. Time moves forward, circumstances shift, and nothing remains the same. If your happiness depends on things staying as they are, you will always be disappointed. Stoicism teaches detachment, not in the sense of indifference, but in the ability to let go when necessary. The ability to appreciate something without needing to keep it forever. The ability to experience joy without fearing its end. When you stop clinging to things, you free yourself from the suffering that comes when they inevitably change. You learn to enjoy the present without grasping, to embrace new beginnings without resistance, and to move forward without the weight of the past holding you down. Freedom is not in escaping life's difficulties, but in facing them without fear. It is not in controlling everything, but in mastering yourself. It is not in acquiring more, but in needing less. It is not in pleasing others, but in living by your own principles. It is not in avoiding pain, but in developing the strength to handle it. This is what Stoicism offers, the kind of freedom that cannot be taken away, that does not depend on circumstances, that is built from within and carried with you no matter where life takes you. When you break these invisible chains, you do not just move through the world differently, you become untouchable. Freedom from external influence is only the beginning. Once the chains of emotional dependency, social pressure, and material attachment are broken, there is another step: building something strong enough to withstand whatever life throws at you. Many people think that once they stop being controlled by others, peace will come naturally. But without an internal structure, freedom can turn into instability. A mind without discipline, purpose, and resilience is just as fragile as one that depends on external validation. Without a strong foundation, pressure from the world will find cracks to seep into, and negativity will have places to take hold. True stability doesn't come from cutting ties with what controls you. It comes from fortifying what is within you. A mind that is fortified is not one that isolates itself from the world. It is one that is prepared for it. The world is full of chaos, distractions, and unpredictable events. There will always be negativity, unfairness, and personal attacks. If your peace depends on a calm and supportive environment, you will always be vulnerable. The goal is not to avoid conflict or difficulty, but to build a state of mind that can withstand anything. Strength is not something that is found, it is something that is built, step by step, through deliberate choices and habits that reinforce a sense of internal security. One of the most effective ways to fortify the mind is by controlling what enters it. Most people let their thoughts be shaped by whatever they are exposed to. They absorb the fears, opinions, and negativity of others without questioning it. They scroll through news, social media, and conversations filled with complaints, outrage, and anxiety, and they wonder why they feel stressed and overwhelmed. A fortified mind does not let just anything in. It filters information with intention. It chooses carefully what deserves attention and what should be ignored. This is not ignorance, it is strategy. Just as the body is affected by what it consumes, the mind is affected by what it absorbs. If your environment is filled with negativity, your thoughts will reflect it. If you surround yourself with shallow distractions, your mind will become weak. If you constantly engage in pointless arguments, your energy will be drained. Strength comes from deciding what is worth engaging with and what is not. What you allow into your mind either builds it up or breaks it down. Emotional control is another essential part of inner fortification. Most people react to emotions without thinking. When they feel anger, they lash out. When they feel hurt, they dwell on it. When they feel insecure, they seek validation. This makes them easy to manipulate. A single insult can ruin their day. A rejection can shake their confidence. A negative opinion can make them doubt themselves. They do not own their emotions. Their emotions own them. A strong mind does not deny feelings, but it does not let them dictate behavior. It acknowledges anger, but does not act out of it. It feels pain, but does not let it turn into self-pity. It experiences disappointment, but does not become lost in it. This is not suppression, it is mastery. It is the ability to recognize emotions, understand their source, and choose the most effective response. This level of control makes a person untouchable. When people realize they cannot provoke a reaction from you, they lose their power. When circumstances no longer dictate your mood, you become truly free. Another layer of mental strength comes from developing the ability to withstand discomfort. Most people avoid struggle. They seek ease, comfort, and pleasure, believing that the less hardship they face, the happier they will be. But in reality, avoiding discomfort only makes a person weaker. When life inevitably presents challenges, they are unprepared. They lack the mental endurance to push through hardship because they have spent their lives running from it. A fortified mind does the opposite. It seeks out controlled discomfort. It understands that stress, pressure, and hardship are not things to be feared, but things to be trained in. Just as the body grows stronger through resistance, the mind grows stronger through difficulty. The more a person willingly exposes themselves to challenges, the less fragile they become. They build endurance by stepping outside their comfort zone regularly, by testing their limits, by proving to themselves that they can handle discomfort and uncertainty. They do not wait for motivation to act. They do not rely on perfect conditions to start. They train themselves to be functional under pressure, so that when life inevitably becomes difficult, they are already prepared. A strong mind also requires a clear sense of personal values. Without them, a person is easily swayed by the opinions and expectations of others. They move through life reacting rather than deciding. They shift their beliefs to fit in, compromise their integrity to avoid conflict, and let circumstances dictate their direction. This creates weakness because they have no internal compass. They do not stand for anything, so they fall for everything. A fortified mind is built on clear principles that do not change based on convenience. It knows what it values, what it stands for, and what it refuses to compromise on. This makes decision-making easier. There is no need for endless debate or overthinking. When values are strong, choices become clear. This kind of clarity creates stability. No external force can pressure a person into abandoning what they deeply believe. No manipulation can make them doubt their principles. They do not need approval because they already know they are acting in alignment with what matters to them. Mental resilience is also built through self-reliance. Many people depend on external circumstances for their motivation and discipline. They wait for the right mood to take action. They rely on others to push them forward. They look for inspiration before they start. This makes them inconsistent and fragile. They only move when conditions are favorable. A strong mind does not rely on motivation or external forces. It moves forward regardless of feelings. It is driven by commitment rather than fleeting emotions. It does not need perfect conditions to act. It acts because it has trained itself to do so. This ability to push forward without needing external validation creates immense strength. It removes excuses. It eliminates procrastination. It turns effort into a natural habit rather than a struggle. A person who is self-reliant does not need to be pushed or reminded. They know what needs to be done and they do it. Another key part of inner fortification is mastering the ability to stay calm under pressure. Many people collapse the moment they face stress. Their thoughts become chaotic, their emotions spiral, and they make rash decisions. This is not because the situation is impossible, but because they have never trained themselves to maintain composure. A strong mind operates differently. It treats pressure as a challenge to be met with clarity, not panic. It slows down when others rush. It analyzes before reacting. It does not let stress create unnecessary tension. Calmness is not a passive state. It is an active choice. It is developed through repeated exposure to high-pressure situations and training the ability to remain level-headed. The more a person practices remaining still in moments of chaos, the more natural it becomes. This makes them an anchor in times of crisis. When others lose control, they stay centered. When people around them panic, they remain steady. This kind of presence is rare, and it commands respect. Mental strength is also built through the ability to let go. Many people carry emotional burdens for years. They hold on to past mistakes, grudges, and regrets. They replay negative experiences in their minds, allowing old wounds to dictate their present. This weakens them. They are weighed down by things they cannot change. Their energy is spent on things that no longer exist. A strong mind understands that dwelling on the past is a form of self-imprisonment. It does not ignore lessons from experience, but it does not allow those experiences to become chains. It moves forward, focused on what can be done now rather than what cannot be undone. This creates mental lightness. There is no unnecessary baggage to carry. There is no wasted energy on things outside of control. Every moment is spent with clarity and purpose, rather than regret. The final layer of a fortified mind is the ability to remain focused. Many people are distracted, unable to sustain deep thought or action. Their attention is constantly pulled in different directions, making their efforts scattered and ineffective. They wonder why they struggle to make progress, not realizing that their mind is fragmented. A strong mind is trained in focus. It does not allow distractions to dictate attention. It sets clear priorities and dedicates full energy to them. It does not indulge in endless scrolling, gossip, or mindless entertainment. Every action is intentional. Every task is done with full presence. This level of focus is a superpower. It allows deep work, strong discipline, and the ability to achieve more with less effort. A mind fortified in these ways becomes indestructible. No external event can break it. because it does not rely on circumstances for stability. No insult, setback, or hardship can shake it, because it is trained in resilience. It moves through the world with confidence, clarity, and control. It is not easily provoked, manipulated, or thrown off course. It is built on a foundation of discipline, emotional mastery, and self-reliance. This is true strength, the kind that cannot be taken away. A fortified mind is a powerful defense against external chaos, but true mastery goes beyond defense. It is not enough to be strong. Strength without clarity can still lead to inner turmoil. Many people who seem resilient on the surface still battle storms within, anxieties that don't fade, anger that lingers, sadness that comes in waves. The mind can be structured, disciplined, and resilient, yet still restless. The next level is not just enduring emotional chaos, but eliminating it at the root. It is shifting from being unshaken by the world to being internally at peace, unaffected by anything that could disturb the mind. Most people assume that emotions are something that just happen. They feel at the mercy of them, riding waves of frustration, sadness, or uncertainty without knowing how to stop. They search for distractions, hoping time will erase what they feel. They overanalyze, trying to make sense of every reaction. They express, suppress, or numb emotions without addressing their source. None of these methods create peace. They only prolong the cycle. Stoicism does not teach avoidance. It does not encourage denial or forced detachment. It provides a method, practical steps, to transform emotional chaos into a state of calm, clarity, and control. The first shift is to understand that emotions do not come from external events. They come from interpretations. A person is not stressed because they have too much work. They are stressed because they believe they can't handle it. Someone is not hurt because of another person's words. They are hurt because they attach meaning to those words. Most people assume that emotions are a direct response to reality, but they are always filtered through perception. If perception can be changed, emotions can be controlled. Once this is understood, the next step is slowing down reactions. The mind's first response is rarely the wisest one. Emotions tend to be immediate and intense. Anger explodes, fear contracts, and sadness drains energy. Acting in these states often leads to regret. The key to clarity is creating space between feeling and reaction. A mind trained in Stoicism does not rush to respond. It observes the emotion, steps back, and questions whether it is useful. It replaces impulsive reaction with measured response. This is not suppression. Suppression ignores emotions. Stoicism engages with them deliberately. Another step is reframing. Most emotions lose their power when viewed from a different perspective. What seems overwhelming up close is often insignificant when zoomed out. Stress about the future becomes unnecessary when seen through the lens of impermanence. Anger fades when viewed as an opportunity for self-discipline. Frustration dissolves when reinterpreted as a test of patience. Reframing does not mean lying to oneself. It means seeing things in a way that removes unnecessary suffering. Life is full of neutral events that the mind labels as good or bad. A neutral event carries no burden. The burden comes from interpretation. Shifting perception shifts emotional response. Another tool for clarity is detachment from outcomes. People suffer most when they attach happiness to results outside of their control. They invest emotions into things that are uncertain. They set expectations on how people should act, how life should unfold, how events should turn out. When reality does not match expectation, disappointment follows. A stoic mind does not place happiness in the hands of the uncertain. It focuses on effort rather than outcome. It commits to action, but releases attachment to results. This removes stress, fear, and frustration. If success comes, it is welcomed. If failure comes, it is accepted without emotional resistance. Clarity is also found through acceptance. Many emotions are rooted in resistance, wanting something to be different than it is. People resist the past by dwelling on regrets. They resist the present by wishing it were easier. They resist the future by fearing what is unknown. This resistance does not change circumstances, it only creates tension. Stoicism teaches that peace comes from aligning the mind with reality, not fighting against it. Whatever has happened cannot be undone. Whatever is happening is already in motion. Whatever is coming will arrive whether one fears it or not. Accepting reality does not mean approving of everything. It means removing the wasted energy spent wishing things were different. A key practice for emotional clarity is simplifying thoughts. Many people overcomplicate their emotions, searching for deep explanations, revisiting the same problems, and feeding their own distress by endlessly analyzing. The mind is like water. When stirred, it becomes cloudy. When left still, it clears. A Stoic approach does not mean ignoring emotions. It means addressing them efficiently, then moving forward. Instead of asking, "Why do I feel this way?" it asks, "Is this thought useful?" Instead of searching for reasons, it searches for solutions. Overthinking traps emotions. Simplicity releases them. Discipline in emotions is another foundation of clarity. Many believe they must feel a certain way before they can act. They wait to be calm before making a decision. They wait to feel motivated before starting something. They wait for anger to pass before communicating. This puts them at the mercy of their emotions. A Stoic approach removes this dependency. It acts regardless of feeling. It does not need to be in the mood for discipline. It follows reason, not emotion. When an action needs to be taken, it is taken. The feeling that accompanies it is irrelevant. This removes hesitation, procrastination, and inconsistency. Clarity is also protected by removing unnecessary emotional attachments. Many people exhaust themselves by caring about things that do not truly matter. They get pulled into drama, arguments, and opinions that have no real impact on their life. They allow minor inconveniences to disturb them. They take offense at things that have no significance. They invest emotional energy into distractions. A Stoic mind is ruthless in protecting its peace. It does not engage in pointless battles. It does not waste thought on things that will not matter in a week, a month, or a year. It chooses where to place its attention, ensuring that energy is spent only on things that contribute to strength, growth, or purpose. Another principle of emotional clarity is mastering reactions to negativity. Insults, criticism, and difficult people are unavoidable. Most people react automatically, feeling hurt, defensive, or angry. They take words personally, allowing others to control their mood. A trained mind does not react emotionally to negativity. It sees insults as reflections of the person speaking them, not as a statement of personal worth. It understands that criticism is often more about the critic than the one being criticized. It does not waste energy proving itself to those who do not matter. The less one reacts, the less power others have over them. Patience is another tool for clarity. Emotions often demand immediate action. They push for impulsive decisions, rushed words, and instant relief. But patience slows everything down. It creates space to think before speaking. It allows feelings to settle before acting. It prevents unnecessary conflict by removing reactionary behavior. A Stoic mind does not rush. It does not let fleeting emotions dictate long-term decisions. It holds its ground, allowing clarity to emerge before responding. Stillness is another key. Many people live in constant motion, both physically and mentally. Their days are filled with noise, movement, and distractions. They rarely stop. They rarely sit with their own thoughts. This constant stimulation keeps the mind scattered. Clarity cannot be found in a mind that never rests. Stoicism teaches the importance of stillness, not inaction, but deliberate moments of quiet, time to reflect, time to reset, time to allow the mind to settle. Just as muddy water clears when left undisturbed, the mind clears when given space. Emotional clarity is strengthened by focusing on what truly matters. Many emotions arise from things that do not contribute to a meaningful life. Worry about the opinions of strangers, stress over small inconveniences, anxiety about things that will not matter in the long run. These distractions pull energy away from what is truly important. A stoic mind cuts through the noise. It focuses on principles, values, and purpose. It does not allow itself to be consumed by temporary discomforts. It keeps its attention on what is within its control, what contributes to growth, and what aligns with its highest values. The result of all these practices is a state of clarity that cannot be disturbed, not because difficulties disappear, but because the mind no longer allows itself to be thrown into chaos by them. There is no overreaction, no unnecessary suffering, no wasted energy on things that do not serve a purpose. There is only clarity, control, and the deep sense of peace that comes from mastering the mind instead of being ruled by it. Emotional clarity creates peace, but there is another level of mastery that few ever reach. It is the ability to remain unaffected, not because one avoids feelings, but because one is no longer controlled by them. Most people live as if their emotions are inevitable responses, something they have no choice but to experience. They believe that strong feelings are proof of depth, passion, or care. They assume that reacting emotionally means they're alive. But what if emotions, when left unchecked, are actually chains? What if reacting to every high and low, every insult, every success, every rejection is the reason people feel exhausted, unstable, and constantly at war with themselves? Detachment is often misunderstood. People assume it means coldness, indifference, or a lack of care. They think it requires suppressing emotions, ignoring people, or becoming unfeeling. But real detachment is none of these things. It is not the absence of emotion, but the absence of emotional slavery. It is the ability to experience without attachment, to be fully present in life without being consumed by every shift in circumstance. It is what allows a person to remain strong whether praised or insulted, calm whether winning or losing, and at peace whether surrounded by chaos or silence. Most suffering comes from attachment. People attach their happiness to outcomes, their self-worth to opinions, their identity to relationships. They invest emotions in things they cannot control, and when those things change, disappear, or disappoint, they fall apart. They grip tightly to expectations, demanding that life unfold a certain way, that people behave as they wish, that reality aligns with their desires. When this does not happen, frustration, sadness, or anger follow. They believe this is natural, that strong emotions are proof of deep connection, when in reality it is proof of dependence. The Stoics understood that emotional detachment is not about avoidance, but about power. It is what allows a person to be in the world fully, but never at its mercy. It is what enables someone to enjoy success without becoming addicted to it, to experience loss without losing themselves, to love without fear of heartbreak. It is not a withdrawal from life, but an elevation above it. It creates the ability to function at the highest level because nothing external has the power to control the mind. One of the first steps to mastering detachment is understanding that most emotions are conditioned responses. People are trained from childhood to react a certain way to praise, failure, rejection, or uncertainty. They are taught that success should bring happiness, that loss should bring sadness, that love should bring fulfillment. These beliefs are rarely questioned, and because of this, emotions feel automatic, but they are not. Every emotional reaction is a choice, even if it does not feel like one. The moment this is realized, detachment becomes possible. A detached mind does not mean a lack of feeling. It means the ability to observe emotions without being controlled by them. It is the ability to step back from reactions and choose a response instead of blindly following a conditioned pattern. Instead of being consumed by anger, a detached person notices it, acknowledges it, and lets it pass. Instead of being overwhelmed by anxiety, they recognize it as a temporary state that does not need to dictate action. Instead of being devastated by failure, they see it as a neutral event that carries no meaning except the lesson it provides. Detachment is especially powerful in relationships. Most pain in human connection comes from attachment. Attachment to how others should treat us, attachment to how long relationships should last, attachment to how people should behave. When expectations are not met, disappointment follows. A detached person loves fully, but does not cling. They give without expecting anything in return. They remain present without needing guarantees. They understand that all relationships are temporary in some way. People change, life shifts, and circumstances evolve. Instead of resisting this, they embrace it. This does not make them distant or cold, it makes them free. They do not live in fear of loss because they do not demand permanence. They appreciate what is without trying to make it last forever. Another area where detachment is transformative is in dealing with criticism and praise. Most people spend their lives chasing approval and avoiding judgment. They feel good when praised and wounded when criticized. This makes them slaves to the opinions of others. A detached person understands that external opinions have no real weight. Praise does not add value, and criticism does not take it away. Both are temporary, both are subjective, and both are irrelevant to a person who already knows their worth. They do not seek validation, nor do they fear rejection. Their sense of self is built from within, and because of this, they remain unaffected by what others say or think. Material detachment is another form of freedom. Most people attach their identity to possessions, believing that wealth, status, or luxury will bring fulfillment. They chase more, never feeling satisfied, because external things can never fill an internal void. A detached person sees material success as neutral. They use wealth if they have it, but they do not need it to be at peace. They can enjoy comforts without being addicted to them. They can live simply without feeling deprived. Their happiness is not tied to how much they own, and because of this, they are never afraid of loss. Detachment also applies to the past and the future. Many people are haunted by what was or what could be. They replay past mistakes, regrets, or traumas, allowing old wounds to define them. Others live in constant anxiety about what is to come, fearing uncertainty, obsessing over what might happen. Neither of these states serve them. A detached person does not dwell on the past because it no longer exists. They do not worry about the future because it has not yet arrived. They focus only on what is real, the present moment. This does not mean they ignore planning or reflection. It means they do not allow time to control them. They take lessons from the past and let the rest go. They prepare for the future, but do not live in fear of it. This allows them to remain fully engaged in the only place where life actually happens, right now. A crucial part of emotional detachment is mastering responses to conflict. Many people allow themselves to be provoked easily. A rude comment, a disagreement, or an insult can throw them into frustration, anger, or defensiveness. This is because they take things personally. They assume that every negative interaction is an attack on their identity. A detached person understands that most negativity from others has nothing to do with them. It is a reflection of the person speaking, their own insecurities, their own frustrations. Taking it personally only gives it power. A detached person does not react emotionally to conflict. They remain calm, choose their responses wisely, and refuse to waste energy on meaningless arguments. They understand that silence is often the most powerful response. Detachment also creates an advantage in decision-making. Most mistakes come from reacting emotionally, rushed choices made in anger, fear-based decisions, overreactions to stress. A detached mind does not operate from impulse. It considers, analyzes, and acts with precision. It does not allow momentary emotions to dictate long-term consequences. This makes a person unshakable under pressure. While others panic, they remain composed. While others rush, they stay steady. While others regret their emotional choices, they move forward with clarity. One of the greatest benefits of detachment is the ability to enjoy life more fully. People often think that deep emotional reactions make life richer, but in reality, they make life heavier. A person who is overly attached to outcomes is constantly in fear of things going wrong. A person who is emotionally reactive is constantly at war with their own mind. A person who is tied to the opinions of others is never truly free. Detachment removes these burdens. It allows a person to move through life lightly, to engage without fear, to experience without clinging. They still feel deeply, but they do not let emotions control them. They still care, but they do not attach their peace to anything outside themselves. They still experience life fully, but they do not allow it to dictate their internal state. This is not nothingness. It is the highest form of clarity. It is the ability to remain steady in all conditions, to act without hesitation, to enjoy without fear of loss, to live fully without being owned by anything. It's a level of strength that nothing can touch, a form of peace that no chaos can disturb. It's not withdrawal from the world, but a deeper engagement with it, free from the illusions that trap most people. When emotional detachment is mastered, life is no longer a cycle of highs and lows. It becomes steady, deliberate, and unwavering. Nothing holds power over the mind, and nothing ever will. Emotional detachment creates a foundation for clarity and resilience, but true strength is built through adversity. It is not enough to remain calm when life is easy. Real fortitude is tested in difficulty, refined by struggle, and proven in moments of hardship. Most people seek to avoid discomfort, thinking that a smooth life is a good life. They resist setbacks, fear failure, and try to control circumstances so they never feel pain. But avoidance does not create strength, it creates fragility. The more a person shields themselves from struggle, the weaker they become. The mind and body adapt to what they are exposed to. If exposed only to ease, they remain untested. If exposed to challenge, they become unbreakable. Stoicism does not offer comfort, it offers power. It teaches that adversity is not something to escape, but something to embrace. Setbacks are not obstacles, but training grounds. Discomfort is not a punishment, but a tool for growth. A mind that understands this does not break under pressure. It does not crumble under failure. It does not fear hardship, because it sees hardship as necessary. Just as a blade is sharpened by friction, the spirit is sharpened by struggle. Without resistance, there is no strength. Without challenge, there is no resilience. Without loss, there is no understanding of what truly matters. The first shift from fragility to fortitude is changing the relationship with discomfort. Most people experience hardship and ask, "Why is this happening to me?" They see struggle as an unfair burden. They assume that happiness means the absence of pain. But this belief is the very thing that keeps them weak. If the goal is to avoid suffering, then every difficulty becomes unbearable. If the goal is to become stronger, then every difficulty becomes an opportunity. The moment suffering is seen as training instead of punishment, it loses its ability to weaken the mind. It stops being something to run from and becomes something to use. Failure is one of the greatest teachers, but most people fear it, not because it hurts, but because they attach meaning to it. They see failure as proof of inadequacy, as evidence that they are not good enough. This belief creates hesitation. It stops people from taking risks, from pushing their limits, from trying again after a setback. But failure is neutral. It carries no meaning except the lesson it provides. A person who fears failure remains fragile. A person who accepts failure and learns from it becomes unstoppable. The Stoics did not see failure as something to avoid, but as something to embrace fully. It reveals weaknesses, shows where improvement is needed, and strips away illusions of perfection. If approached with the right mindset, it becomes the most powerful force for growth. Setbacks are another test of strength. When life does not go as planned, when things are lost, when unexpected challenges arise, the average person reacts with frustration, sadness, or defeat. They assume that setbacks mean something is wrong, that life should be smooth, that success should come without difficulty. This belief makes them fragile. They see resistance and give up. They encounter struggle and assume they are not meant to continue. But setbacks are not roadblocks. They are part of the process. They force adaptation. They demand problem solving. They create resilience. A person who expects setbacks, who prepares for them, who welcomes them as necessary steps, does not get discouraged when they appear. They adjust, refocus, and keep moving forward. The strongest people are not those who have avoided pain, but those who have endured it and come out stronger. A mind that has never been tested cannot know its own strength. A spirit that has never been challenged remains unformed. People who have faced struggle, who have lost and rebuilt, who have been tested and endured, develop something rare, an unbreakable will. They no longer fear hardship because they have faced it and survived. They no longer panic in uncertainty because they have proven they can adapt. They no longer let external events dictate their internal state because they have seen how little control they truly have and have accepted it fully. Greater than hardship is a choice for those who seek strength. Most people avoid voluntary difficulty, doing only what is comfortable, never pushing themselves beyond what is easy. This keeps them weak. They are unprepared when real hardship arrives because they have never trained for it. Those who deliberately expose themselves to discomfort develop an advantage. They practice discipline. They take on challenges when they do not have to. They build mental endurance so that when struggle comes unexpectedly, they are already conditioned for it. They do not wait for hardship to be forced upon them. They seek it out in small ways, training the mind and body to handle stress. They do not wait for motivation to act. They train themselves to act without it. They do not rely on perfect conditions. They create their own. This is not about masochism. It is about preparation. It is not about seeking pain, but about building the character that can withstand it. Another crucial aspect of building fortitude is mastering the ability to control reactions to criticism and insults. Most people take these personally. They assume that negative words reflect their worth. They allow the opinions of others to dictate their self-esteem. This makes them fragile. They become defensive, angry, or hurt, giving power to those who seek to provoke them. A strong mind understands that words are just words. They carry no inherent meaning. They only have the power a person chooses to give them. An insult is not a statement of fact, but a reflection of the person who speaks it. Criticism is often more about the critic than the one being criticized. A person who understands this does not react emotionally. They do not waste energy trying to change the opinions of those who do not matter. They do not seek approval from those who do not understand them. They remain calm, choose their responses wisely, and focus on what truly matters, their own integrity. This detachment is not about indifference. It is about self-preservation. It is about refusing to let external opinions dictate internal peace. It is about understanding that true strength comes from within, not from the validation of others. Fortitude is also built through the ability to maintain composure in chaos. Most people panic when faced with unexpected events. They become overwhelmed, scattered, and unable to think clearly. They react impulsively, making mistakes that compound the problem. A strong mind does not collapse under pressure. It remains calm, focused, and deliberate. It analyzes the situation, prioritizes actions, and moves forward with precision. It understands that chaos is temporary, that every problem has a solution, and that panic only makes things worse. This ability to remain steady in moments of crisis is a rare and valuable trait. It allows a person to lead, to solve problems, and to navigate uncertainty with confidence. It is not something that is innate. It is something that is trained, practiced, and honed through repeated exposure to challenging situations. Another essential element of fortitude is the ability to maintain discipline even when motivation is absent. Most people rely on feeling inspired to take action. They wait for the right mood, the perfect conditions, or the spark of enthusiasm. This makes them inconsistent. They only perform when things are easy. A strong mind understands that discipline is not about feeling motivated. It is about acting regardless of feeling. It is about doing what needs to be done, even when it is difficult, uncomfortable, or uninspiring. It is about building habits that are rooted in commitment, not emotion. This level of discipline is what separates those who achieve greatness from those who remain average. It is what allows a person to push through obstacles, to overcome setbacks, and to achieve goals that others deem impossible. It is not about talent or luck. It is about the unwavering commitment to doing what is necessary, even when it is not easy. Fortitude is also strengthened by the ability to accept what cannot be changed. Most people waste energy fighting against reality. They dwell on past mistakes, regret lost opportunities, and wish things were different. They resist the present, wanting it to be easier, smoother, and more comfortable. They fear the future, worrying about what might happen, obsessing over what could go wrong. This constant resistance creates suffering. A strong mind understands that some things are beyond control. The past cannot be undone. The present is already in motion. The future is uncertain. Accepting this does not mean giving up. It means focusing energy on what can be influenced. It means letting go of what cannot be changed and embracing what is. It means finding peace in the present moment, regardless of circumstances. This acceptance does not come easily. It requires practice, patience, and a deep understanding of the nature of reality. But once it is mastered, it creates a sense of inner peace that cannot be disturbed by external events. The final element of fortitude is the ability to maintain unwavering focus. Most people are easily distracted. They allow their attention to be pulled in countless directions, wasting time and energy on trivial matters. They struggle to concentrate, to think deeply, to engage in meaningful work. A strong mind is disciplined in its focus. It prioritizes tasks, eliminates distractions, and dedicates its full attention to the present moment. It understands that focus is a superpower, that it allows for deep work, creative thinking, and efficient problem-solving. This level of focus is not something that is innate. It is something that is cultivated through practice, discipline, and a deep understanding of the importance of attention. When all of these elements are combined, a person develops a level of fortitude that is truly remarkable. They become resilient, adaptable, and unshakable. They no longer fear hardship because they see it as an opportunity for growth. They no longer crumble under pressure because they have trained themselves to remain calm and focused. They no longer seek approval from others because they know their own worth. They no longer waste energy fighting against reality because they have learned to accept what cannot be changed. They become masters of their own minds, shaping their destinies with unwavering resolve. This is not about becoming superhuman. It is about becoming fully human. It is about unlocking the potential that lies within each person, the potential to overcome any obstacle, to endure any hardship, and to achieve any goal. Fortitude is not a gift, it is a choice. It is a choice that anyone can make, a choice that leads to a life of strength, purpose, and fulfillment. And so, we arrive at the culmination of this journey, a journey not merely through words, but through the very architecture of the human spirit. We've traversed the landscape of Stoicism, not as passive observers, but as active participants in a transformation. We've delved into the depths of emotional mastery, the heights of mental fortitude, and the expanses of inner peace. We've dismantled the illusions that bind us, the chains of expectation, dependency, and fear, and in their place, we've forged a foundation of unwavering strength. This is not a theoretical exercise, a mere intellectual pursuit. It is a practical, actionable blueprint for living, a roadmap to a life defined by clarity, resilience, and purpose. We've explored the art of cultivating an unshakable core, a fortress of the mind that stands impervious to the storms of life. We've learned to detach from the ephemeral, to release the grip of external validation, and to anchor our peace in the immutable principles of reason and virtue. We've discovered the power of amor fati, the love of fate, not as passive resignation, but as active acceptance, a profound understanding that every event, every challenge, every hardship is an opportunity for growth, a chance to refine our character, to strengthen our resolve. We've confronted the illusion of control, recognizing that true power lies not in manipulating the external world, but in mastering our internal responses. We've embraced discomfort, not as an enemy, but as a teacher, a catalyst for resilience, a forge in which our spirit is tempered and refined. We've learned to observe our emotions, not as masters, but as students, to understand their origins, to discern their purpose, and to choose our responses with deliberate intention. We've practiced the art of reframing, shifting our perspectives, transforming obstacles into opportunities, and finding peace in the midst of chaos. We've mastered the ability to detach, not from life itself, but from the emotional entanglements that bind us, the attachments that lead to suffering. We've learned to love without clinging, to appreciate without possessing, to experience without being consumed. We've discovered the freedom that comes from releasing the need for external validation, from anchoring our self-worth in our own integrity, our own principles, our own unwavering commitment to virtue. We've embraced the power of discipline, not as a burden, but as a pathway to freedom, a means of aligning our actions with our values, of shaping our destinies with deliberate intention. We've cultivated the ability to maintain composure in the face of adversity, to remain calm in the midst of chaos, to act with clarity and precision when others are overwhelmed. We've mastered the art of focus, of directing our attention with unwavering intention, of eliminating distractions, and of immersing ourselves in the present moment. We've embraced the power of acceptance, of aligning our minds with reality, of letting go of what cannot be changed, and of focusing our energy on what can. This is not a destination but a journey, a continuous process of self-refinement, a lifelong pursuit of wisdom and virtue. There will be moments of doubt, times when the old habits resurface, when the pull of external validation feels strong, when the temptation to react emotionally is overwhelming. But in those moments, remember the principles you have learned, the tools you have acquired, the strength you have cultivated. Remember that you are not defined by your circumstances, but by your responses to them. Remember that true power lies not in controlling the world, but in mastering yourself. Remember that adversity is not a punishment, but an opportunity. Remember that peace comes from within, not from without. Remember that virtue is its own reward, that integrity is its own strength, and that wisdom is its own light. This is not a quick fix, a magical solution, or a shortcut to happiness. It is a commitment, a dedication, a lifelong practice. It requires patience, perseverance, and a willingness to confront your own weaknesses, to challenge your own beliefs, to transform your own character. But the rewards are immeasurable, a life of clarity, purpose, and unwavering peace. As you step forward, carry these principles with you, not as abstract ideas, but as living guides, as practical tools for navigating the complexities of life. Embrace the challenges, learn from the setbacks, and celebrate the victories. Remember that you are not alone on this journey. The wisdom of the Stoics, the insights of the ages, the collective experience of humanity, all stand as a testament to the power of the human spirit. And in the moments when you feel lost, when you feel overwhelmed, when you feel like giving up, remember this: you have the power within you to create the life you desire, to shape your own destiny, to become the person you were meant to be. You have the power to rise above the chaos, to transcend the limitations, to embody the virtues that define a life well lived. This is not just a philosophy, it is a way of being. It is a way of seeing the world, of interacting with others, of living with purpose. It is a way of embracing the present moment, of finding joy in the simple things, of appreciating the beauty of life. It is a way of living with intention, with integrity, with unwavering commitment to virtue. And as you embark on this journey, remember that you are not just changing your own life, you are changing the world around you. You are becoming a beacon of strength, a source of inspiration, a testament to the power of the human spirit. You are demonstrating that it is possible to live with peace, with purpose, with unwavering resolve. So go forth, embrace the challenges, cultivate your inner strength, and live a life worthy of your highest aspirations. For in the end, it is not the circumstances of our lives that define us, but the choices we make, the principles we uphold, and the character we cultivate. And in that we find true freedom, true peace, and true fulfillment.